Welcome to Link by Golf, the podcast that brings you inside stories and conversations from across the world of golf. Thanks to Lomond Golf Tours for supporting the pod. If you're looking for a unique golfing experience, Ian and his team are the people for you. I'm Ross McGuire, and today I'm joined by PGA Pro David Orr, the head professional at Whitecraigs Golf Club. We talk about where Scottish golf is at today and the actions clubs can take to grow their memberships. We also discuss David's own playing journey, including his ambitions in senior competition now he's reached the age criteria, and how he's staying sharp in the course. Also, if you enjoy the podcast, please do take a moment to share and subscribe. It really helps grow the audience. Let's go over to David. On this week's episode, I'm really delighted to be joined by David Orr. David, really great to see you. How are you doing?
Nice to see you, Ross. Yeah, delighted to be on the podcast. No problem.
And David, we'll jump in straight away. So you're currently the head PGA Pro at Whitecraigs Golf Club. So what does that involve, and how are your days these days?
Yeah, days are busy, especially now with the weather getting a bit better in the west at the moment. So yeah, we're head professional in charge of coaching, retail, club fitting, membership. We've got a very busy active membership, about 1,250 members across juniors. Got 175 juniors. Got a program called the Wee Wonders between 5 and 10. We've got 110 in that program. We've got around 300 ladies. So yeah, the bucket is pretty full. You know, I still play a little bit, not as competitively as I used to be, but I still enjoy playing golf, which I think is important as a head professional at a golf club. So yeah, days are long. The hours are now long in terms of the shop hours and retail, which is a big part of the business. But got a lot of coaching programs to fulfill as well through getting to golf and beginners to the game as well, which is very important.
Yeah, and normally I jump straight into people's backgrounds, but I'd love to dig into the junior part that you were talking about there, David. So 175 juniors, what do you do to attract them and keep them engaged?
I think biggest part for us, certainly at Whitecraigs, and I'm biased obviously as a pro here, but yeah, our facilities would stand apart from anywhere locally, certainly, and well into the west of Scotland. In terms of, we've got a beautiful 9-hole par 3 course. We invested money in a beautiful short game facility with separate bunker area to practice as well for the members. We've also got a nice driving range, about 240 yards long, for members to hit off with new mats to strike off. And we've got an indoor TrackMan facility in the clubhouse. So really we're covered for all weathers, all eventualities, but probably more importantly, I think it keeps people engaged in golf 12 months of the year, which again in the west of Scotland is challenging. So the club have really got behind the kind of initiatives that we brought to the table. I've been here now nearly 7 years. So yeah, we're investing in the right areas and improving our facilities, which is very, very important for the membership. And that seems to have been really bought in to the juniors and the parents. And obviously I lead all the coaching sessions for juniors. So it's been great to try and have a small kind of part to hopefully in their engagement in the game of golf going forward. They'll always remember it. So yeah, I take it very responsibly. It's great.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm showing my age here. I think we're about the same age anyway, David, but
Yep.
Do you have that situation in summer now where kids are getting dropped off and, you know, the parents know they're going to the golf club and they're fine, they're just left all day? Is that coming back?
It's happening constantly here at Whitecraigs, so we do buck the trend. So it's we're in a kind of a suburban part of town, but we're giving them a reason to turn up at Whitecraigs and play golf, which we're absolutely delighted. I would also say we've got a great junior convener here, Gordon Watson, who's doing a fantastic job on WhatsApp and all the different forums to engage with parents as much as possible. And the juniors, we have a very successful junior week in July for about 70, 80 kids that come along. So, and I think also the support of the membership's been really important from the gents and ladies. They're very supportive in terms of seeing the juniors here. Obviously, it comes with a responsibility around the kind of everybody's responsibility of getting around the course in an appropriately manner and looking after it. So there's still a continual education to the juniors just to make sure that they're taking that responsibly and looking after the golf course, which they are, I would say. So it's but again, we have vast facilities, so there's plenty of space for them to play and practice.
That's fantastic. And yeah, I'd love to just jump back a wee bit in time then, David. What about yourself? How did you get into the game?
Yeah, I started up at East Wren, locally to us at Whitecraigs, just up the road, and myself and my brother, who's a PGA professional down south, Stephen, and really through my mum and dad, Started playing at an early age, around 5, 6 years old, and like everybody, it was just go and hit the odd shot, slash it around the fairway, with my dad at East End, hitting it as far as we can, which wasn't very far at that age. But I think we kind of fell in love with the game at an early age, and then gradually started to specify a wee bit more and got a bit more serious into our kind of early teens. I would say, and we really started to hone in and trying to be better golfers, as much as, and what that involves is obviously quite vast nowadays, So, yeah, I still have a great passion for golf, and it definitely goes back to a young age. I'm 50, so 45 years ago, we started the whole process.
Wow.
A long time ago.
Yeah. But then, I mean, you had a really good, I guess, junior and then into amateur career. So I'd love you to talk about some of those experiences and you're playing for Scotland and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think the kind of pathway would be kind of county first, or club first, then county. So, yeah, I didn't. If I look back, I think I eventually left amateur golf off +3, +4, I think it was, but certainly took a long time to get to that point, and had a great time playing for Renfrewshire Golf Union, I would say. That's still very prevalent at the moment nowadays with the guys in the county, and still keep in touch with some of the players. So that was a great breeding ground for me to learn to play the golf game a little bit more, and for those that have played with me, I've got kind of sore shoulders and hands and stuff, and the golf swing for me is not that orthodox, I would say. I'm kind of pick the club up and do my own thing, which actually is fine, and I'm always aware of that now when I coach people. So that worked for me. So I just learned to start to try and play the game, and kind of realised through county golf that I had a kind of an element of talent, you might say, I would say, and I was really keen to try and develop that, and did play for Scotland, played for Scotland Youth, just missed out in the men's cap. But, I was a good amateur golfer, and I think it was only until I went to America at 19 years old in Alabama. From Newton Mearns to Alabama was quite a shift, and certainly you learn to grow up, and that kind of propelled my game forward, because I actually started to learn how to play golf and ultimately score, which as a professional is really all that counts. And I think that was the breeding ground for me in terms of having a better professional golf career than an amateur career. So sometimes nowadays, unfortunately, it goes the other way, I would say sometimes. And then for whatever reasons, as again, we're all different. So I learned to score fundamentally in America, 2, 3, 4, 5 times a week, and as I kind of communicate to players, our A game and your A game is still very good, but, it's being able to say, well, your B game and C game needs to be better, and I learned to say that sometimes, if my bad days were 76, then that's what it needs to be. It can't be 80, 81, when you're turning pro. So I learned to keep my off days better than the rest. So when I was in America, so I really was learning the playing skills, which ultimately, is where you're trying to make money. So against everyone else.
What was different, do you think, when you were at college in the States, David? You mentioned they're focusing on scoring regardless of how you're playing. What kind of things would you be working on?
Yeah, I was working on course management, I would say, and that's still fairly good for me nowadays, I would say. Course management was key, learning to map out golf courses, different golf courses that you didn't know. What's the key things that were relevant for my game ultimately, and that's important because we all play the game differently and see different shots. So being aware of certain hazards and different things that might not suit my game. So and then for me, learning to try and develop a world-class wedge play game and short game. Due to my technique being probably slightly weaker than some, I kind of decided to make sure that I would specialize and be better than some inside 120 yards. So, yeah, people that know me would probably say, yeah, he's got a great short game and he's very good with a wedge in his hand. So when you're a professional, that's a massively important aspect of where you're hitting the ball in terms of proximity to the flag. So I really honed in that part of the game in America. So when I came back, it was at a really high level. And even at my level now, which is nowhere near, some of the people you've probably had on the podcast, my wedge playing short game is still at times extremely good, so that's kind of hopefully stayed in with me for a long time. So that's a big part of the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you talked about being professional. So you turned professional in 97 and you had a go at the Euro Pro Tour. I guess that may have been the MasterCard at the time. Is that right?
Yeah. MasterCard Tour, yeah, that was, gosh, it takes me back now, and you see all this written down now. It's interesting. So yeah, I think I won once, I believe, in the MasterCard Tour, which was in France. So yeah, that was a special feeling, actually, because I always say, it's not easy to win. It's really difficult, in terms of that, and some people aren't ready to do it. And I kind of learned that was probably quite quickly after coming back from America, to experience that. I didn't have as many opportunities to win at the amateur level, maybe in kind of 2-round events maybe, but not the 3 and 4 round, the bigger events. I wasn't really featuring as high up in stroke play. So I think to go across the line and win was amazing. And then when the MasterCard Tour became the Euro Pro Tour, I managed to win 3 times on the Euro Pro Tour as well. So I think winning's definitely a slight drug, if you might say that. You can get used to it, and the confidence levels, in professional sport, and especially golf, can be quite fragile. So I had a real taste for winning, and my confidence levels changed dramatically from there. So I was, again, I come back to the unorthodox move, and maybe in the swing, but at Impact, when I was playing my best, it was in a very good position, and then suddenly when the wedge game's in a solid position and you can hole out putts from 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 feet, very well, then suddenly that equals quite good scores a lot of the time, So yeah, that gave me a massive boost early in the profession.
There's been a lot of really good Scottish players around that sort of circuit at the time. Paul McKechnie, Stephen O'Hara, Mark
players.
Warren, those guys.
Yeah, Richard Bland was there, these guys, David Drysdale. Yeah, so you were playing against these guys and competing and winning as well, and these are all great players, and there's no doubt, so Mark Warren, playing a lot of time with Mark in Challenge Tour, and he's obviously different again, so it's, I think we all just feed off each other. It was a great kind of teamwork, if you like, around the kind of friendship around there, so we'd all learn off each other and spend a lot of time together. So I guess I think it's the same nowadays, when you're spending time around good players and sometimes better players, you kind of help learn off these guys as well. So I think that helped me ultimately as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And you touched on the Challenge Tour. What was your experience like on there as well?
Expensive. Not easy. I made a lot of cuts in the Challenge Tour. That came at a hard time. We had some financial backing, which was great. Challenge Tour, back then, a long time ago, was probably running about £1,200 a week for me. So it was expensive. I think it's gone up now to about 1,800, I think, a week. So it's an expensive sport to travel on the Challenge Tour. Ultimately, I think I was finishing around 40th to 60th for 2 years in a row. So I wasn't really setting the heather on fire. I was making a lot of cuts, and it's hard because you might miss a cut, but you've shot, 3-4 under par and the cut's 5 under because the standard's so good. So you're trying to telling yourself you're still playing okay. I wasn't shooting bad scores, but it wasn't enough to sometimes make cuts. I didn't miss a load of cuts over 2 years, but I didn't have that first, second, third places. I had a lot of 20th to 40th, which on Challenge Tours, not always the right way, unfortunately. I need to be higher up, but it was I suppose again it gave me more confidence because in the second year of Challenge Tour I got to San Roque on the older setup, not in the new course as it is now, which is great as well, but and I got to the 6th round, so I made it through stage 1, made it through stage 2, so I've already played 8 rounds now at pressurized environment, and then you get to San Roque, so you've got to make the 4-round cut in the final Q school, because if you make the last 2 rounds, then you're guaranteed a European Tour category, which gives you entry into a lot of events.
Okay.
So that's important to make the 4-round cut out of 6. So I made the 4-round cut, which was, even for me, being a good player, but certainly not a top player on the Q school, that was a big, almost relief, and then I went into the 5th round at San Roque and shot 67, which was 5 under par. And it's, you can tell by the detail that it's quite raw. I can still picture every shot almost that day. So again, I go into my 6th round and I believe it was top 30 or 32 that got a card. So I was 19th starting the 6th round, and it was pressurized. It was, I think, knowing now what I know now, I'd have probably tried to deal with the pressure better. But for those that know San Roque, the first hole, which is the 10th now, goes up the hill, quite a demanding opening tee shot, and made a par to start, then bogeyed the 2nd, which is okay because that's a hard hole, and then clear as day, I'll never forget it. And the 3rd hole's a par 3 down the hill. and I hit a beautiful tee shot with an 8-iron, and in the 6th round it hit the top of the flag, ricocheted off the green, went under a tree, and I made double bogey.
Oh my God. Wow.
So, and in the 6th round, that was unsettling, and I'm not going to lie. But from there, I managed to finish 1 under par. I shot 2 over, which, definitely wasn't in my script. But unfortunately, I missed my card by 2 shots. As the guys in the 6th round, some of them just went lower than me. So, and it's interesting because I talk about that quite a lot with people, and even now as I play less, I'm still fairly consistent, even at 50, and I don't play as much as I used to, but I'm still consistent, and I definitely maintain. If that last round outcome was slightly different, I think I would have had the consistency to hang about the tour and actually forge quite a good career. I would say I genuinely believe that. And but things, weren't aligned for me in that last round, and and that's okay as well. And I've come to just accept that's what happened. And I gained some access to tour events over the next few years, and made quite a few cuts, missed a few cuts. But again, the pressure comes when you're spending more money again, when young family. So it just got to a balance point, a tipping point where you have to make a decision, don't you? So it's but I don't
talking about Q skill there. I mean, guys talk about literally throwing up before they go out, and even during it, just with the nerves and the pressure and not sleeping for 6 nights and all this kind of stuff.
It was a sleepless night, I'm not going to lie. Even in the range, in the morning, it's just utter silence. Your eyes are not even engaged. There's no small chat. You're just there to try and do a job, and it's it was pins and needles in the feet. It was the hands were tingly, so it was just you're trying to just get a very efficient 4 hours work done, and try and shoot that score. And the stars did not align, unfortunately, in the last round for me, which is fine. But it was massively disappointing after it, that's for sure.
I'd like to take the opportunity to thank Lomond Golf Tours for their support. Let's hear from them now.
At Lomond Golf Tours Scotland, we understand that choosing the perfect golf trip can bring its challenges. With more than 500 golf courses in Scotland and another 2,000 around the UK and Ireland, many of our guests don't know where to start. But for Lomond Golf Tours, it's not just about the golf, it's about providing an experience that will exceed expectations, that will turn dreams into realities, and that will create memories that last a lifetime. Lomond Golf Tours have helped thousands of guests build bespoke golf trips to create a magical experience. Travel in style, whether executive chauffeur travel, whether it's golf on a major championship venue or one of our hidden gems, 5-star accommodation or a boutique bed and breakfast, or is it whiskey tasting on a private boat? Lomond Golf Tours are here to help build the tour of a lifetime. Whether you're celebrating a special occasion or ticking it off your bucket list, embark on a trip that you'll remember forever. To learn more about our offerings for 2025 and beyond, visit www.lomondgolftours.com.
Now let's get back to the pod.
But then, David, you've turned all these experiences into great positives and taken on a different career through coaching. I'd love you to start talking about your coaching philosophy and how you take those experiences and help other players.
After that, I went to work at Big Golf Academy in Mearns, and Newton Mearns, which was great, so then took on, obviously I'm a member of the PGA, which has been integral as well to allowing you to do all these things as well, which has been great. And learned took a lot of different coaching. Obviously being a good player doesn't guarantee that you're going to be a good golf coach. It might instigate interest in coming to see you, but you've got to be able to deliver a coaching session, and an understanding to a pupil. So I definitely brushed up on all my knowledge, in the coaching side and the communication. Did a lot of extra CPD courses and biomechanics, TrackMan, obviously I'm a TrackMan guy. Increased my own kind of database of knowledge, if you like, to a high level, and then obviously wanting to then bring in the coaching aspects. So obviously I'm very aware of how people move, how we're all very different, how we all learn very differently, but ultimately it's about coming back to improve somebody's knowledge, understanding, confidence. Sometimes you're an ear for somebody to talk to and share ideas with. So the coaching role is very diverse nowadays. So it's about improving somebody's ball flight ultimately, and managing their expectations. Some people require a lot of change. Some people just want you to move the ball from 50 yards with their sand wedge to 70 yards, or they want to, hit it, 10 yards less to the right. So we're all different, and play the game very differently. So yeah, the role of the coach is it's a really enjoyable aspect, of the job, from juniors to ladies to gents to beginners. So it's every day's different, you might say, and every pupil's different, and that's the way it should be. And I'm always aware of how I move and how I learn, is not the same for everybody else. So that's a key skill I think that coaches can always be better at, I would say.
Yeah, and you mentioned there that players do a lot more talking sometimes during lessons now, and they're talking about how they feel.
Yep.
God forbid.
Yep.
Nerves that they come up against, challenges, anxiety. I'd love you to talk about,
Yeah.
not any player specifically, but what kind of things might come up in those conversations that you're helping them deal with.
Yeah. I suppose it's the good thing as well, is it's, from my perspective, it's good that I can tap into a library, if you like, of situations that I've been in, that's that you can maybe kind of open up and share some scenarios of pressure. Maybe I played at Wentworth in the Volvo PGA. How do you deal with the pressure, playing with Michael Campbell on a Saturday at Wentworth, when you've got 10,000 people around the tee in the first, so that's nervous, that's nerves, so, and I had to deal with that. So you're talking about lots of situations, shot selection, pre-shot routine, what's the advantages of that, what's the mind talking about behind the scenes. I'm not a psychologist, but I'm interested in, on that 15th club, I call it, what's going on behind the scenes that I don't know about. You need to talk to me, share some ideas of what you're seeing, what's the plan, what's the intention, so it's what's the dangers, what we're trying to stay away from, what do we focus on, so I think it's especially with good players, that's not for every single player, remember, but people that are maybe fast tracking through their game, want to know a bit more, then it's not just about what TrackMan or the quad tells you there. Well, you're past that, you will, how do we fix that, and then what else is going on behind the scenes, in terms of your shot game management, everything else.
Brilliant. And then I'd love you to talk, David, about just golf in general in Scotland. What have you seen over the last few years? I know that the sport's had a real boom again, but what are you seeing from your perspective in the region and just what's going on?
Yeah. I think the game is, certainly post-COVID, it's taken a huge jump. There's no doubt about it. From I think what I hear, I think maybe some clubs are maybe finding a drop-off in membership. For whatever reason, I think maybe more pay-as-you-play, or maybe obviously clubs, their kind of fees are maybe having to kind of escalate a little bit more with rising costs, I think, as well. And maybe certain people's jobs maybe are a little bit more under threat in certain scenarios. There's lots of factors, I think, as well. But my understanding is at White Craigs, that things are very buoyant, membership strong, investment's very strong from the club. There's a very much a community family feel for us at the golf club, and a massive amount of support from membership. So I think golf, has challenges. Obviously, I know it does. Rising costs maybe in golf clubs obviously have escalated a little bit. So as a club pro and dealing in hardware, I've got to keep an eye on that a little bit as well. But I think as well it comes people, I would say, and nicely, trust what I say, as a club pro, and listen to advice of whether it's maybe not to change, quite frankly. I give them the best advice, so but again, that's just knowing your consumer and your knowledge, and expertise, hopefully over years. So it's I think golf markets is still buoyant, I would say. Definitely, I think a good strong start to the season around this time of year with the Masters looming next week, as good weather early in the season is a really integral part to the golf season, I would say, in Scotland and the UK, and definitely up here.
Yeah, and I guess the question for people in Scotland all the time is, we produce a lot of fantastic players, and we've got some great guys on tour at the moment. Yep. Do you think there's anything that we could do as a country to elevate that even further and bring even more people through? Do you think there's things that we're missing at all?
Oh, it's a hard one. It's noticed recently on social media. I think Paul Laurie and Steve Gallagher were doing maybe. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but there was maybe winter training camps abroad. I mean, that stuff's fantastic, and these guys do a heck of a lot. There's no doubt. I remember spending time in these camps as an amateur. I think with Bob Torrance out in San Roque, of all places, as well. So yeah, it's hard. I think the Middle East is obviously the perfect place to spend some time. I was out there in the winter for a while, and yeah, it's warm weather training helps. I think there's no doubt about it. I mean, there's obviously great guys in tour at the moment, and yeah, I think how do you get them into America and the PGA Tour? The European Tour are giving them a great chance to get there, obviously with the top 10. But yeah, improving facilities. I think indoor training, I think, is a big part of it. I would say I'm a fan of that. I think in the West is really important, and across the whole of Scotland, I would say I think it offers a lot of tour players. Definitely have them. Some have them in America in reasonable climates. You think, well, God, they've got warm weather training there, and they've got an indoor simulator. So these things are imperative, to be honest with you. And then obviously it peters out a little bit more because you want to be outside in good days. But I think improving facilities is key. For member engagement, and the more the members are using your facility and enjoying it and learning, and when you learn, hopefully, and you improve, then you enjoy the game and you're likely to stay here longer and then recommend to more people to stay. So it's, so I think, my role certainly, is you've got an integral part in that, in member engagement and enjoyment and learning, so it's for that individual, it might look very different for some.
Absolutely. And then, David, what about advice for people that are thinking about getting into the golf industry and pursuing whatever career that is? It could be as a PGA professional, it could be getting into events. What kind of things would you suggest that people do?
Yeah, I would say, I say, first of all, get your PGA qualification. I would say would be a massive thing to do, and do it well. I think it's 3 years, 4 years maybe, I need to check. But 3 years, it's not a lot of time over your lifespan. And I think that gives you a lot of opportunities to navigate into, as you say, events, into maybe working for the big corporate companies, the big, hardware companies, clothing brands, apparel, tourism, golf travel companies is a big market nowadays, and don't think that's going to slow down much into the UK and Scotland. That's huge. Golf club management as well. So there's actually a colossal amount of opportunities, but ultimately I think doing the PGA qualification will unlock a lot of these opportunities. And I think that, our sector in golf is a social environment, is somebody's social environment, is my workplace. So I'm always aware of we have the pressures of where you work, and not every day is a perfect day. We all have stresses at work, but ultimately I'm always aware that this is a nice relaxing place for your members to come and play golf. So we would certainly not show any stresses or strains, let's just say that, if it's because there's always challenges in every job, and mine's no different, for whatever that looks like. But it's I would say there's a multitude of opportunities in the industry, and I don't see it slowing down at all.
Yeah, and just looking ahead for White Craigs and your own aspirations that continue, what do you see the future holding?
I would see more investment in facilities. I would say there'll be, I think the golf course is really starting to take shape as well. We've done quite a lot of changes out there with investment in different areas. Membership numbers are continuing still to be very high. We've got a waiting list here, joining fee for us. We invest a lot in big capital projects. So I think we've got a small waiting list at the moment, so I don't see that changing anytime soon, which has been fantastic. More rise in lady members. We've got around 300, which is a fantastic, probably one of the largest in the west of Scotland, and a great section. And very integral part to the club as well, and do a lot. Just more golf club investment, I would say, as well, just to keep improving our facilities consistently, to try and be right at the top, and that's showing, hopefully with myself, Ross doing a good job, that keeps bringing people interested in golf to White Craigs, which is our number one goal. As we'll have a lot of golf clubs around us in the area, and a bigger golf academy, which does a good job as well, I would add, but as a private golf club, certainly we're doing a lot for the members, and it's a really nice place to be, I have to say.
Yeah, and for yourself, David, you mentioned that you just recently turned 50. What about your own playing aspirations going forward? Any signs of trying to qualify for the Senior British Open or anything?
Yeah, I think, but yeah, it's funny, you're getting a bit older. I've got osteoarthritis in my hands now, in my right hand especially. So I went down to play in the seniors PGA Championship at Moore Park, I think it was last year.
Nice.
And made the cut. Haven't really played bigger events for a few years, but had to withdraw in the last round due to my hands not closing my right hand. So I find it quite hard. So I played a couple of tournaments last year, did okay. Played one in the Tomatin up north at Nairn, Castle Stewart and Dornoch. Shot 69 round Dornoch, 74 round Nairn in the wind and rain, then shot 69 at Castle Stewart. So, it's not bad.
Can you still golf your ball, David?
So I still enjoy it, even with my funny swing. But I hit a lot of good shots, actually, through those 3 days. So, yeah, I still enjoy playing. I really do. My brain still works pretty well under pressure. The touch and finesse and the wedge play and a lot of iron shots at times are still really good. So, yeah, I think I would like to do the Seniors Open. There's no doubt. I think it's just finding the time to put aside from my game, to bring that up to a really competitive spell. I would say, honestly, it would probably take me 45 hours, 50 hours to get my game back into a really, really tidy place. Maybe not to challenge the Graham Robertsons, the Paul O'Hara in Scotland, but not at that level. But I could still make money, let's just say. But I just don't really have that time at the moment coming into the golf season. So if I can, I'm actually going to the range tonight after work. There you go. At 6 o'clock. So I'm still motivated to practice and make an effort, because I fundamentally believe, a club pro should still be a good player and something for some members, not everyone, to aspire to be good. So you have a good opportunity to try and do that. And my background was playing as much as I'm a head professional. So, but I don't forget that I'm still a golfer at heart.
Fantastic. And if people are looking to get in touch with you, David, thinking about lessons with you, how would they get in touch?
Lessons, custom fitting, advice, really good advice is what I do. So yeah, I'm at White Craigs Golf Club in the south side of Glasgow. Be really by phoning the shop. All the websites out there, and my email will be there as well. Get in touch. If it's questions or advice, then I'm more than happy. I take a lot of calls on a weekly basis around a lot of clients that come and see me from out with, and a lot of memberships. So yeah, I would pride myself in offering really expert advice, and I'll gladly give you a very honest opinion in certain aspects of your game and equipment or anything else, or juniors or girls or whatever that is for coaching.
Fantastic. Well, I really appreciate you joining this episode, David. Thanks so much for taking the time.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. It's lovely to see you again. Back to those days in Blair Beth, as you said, in that amateur event. So it's a long time ago. You've got a better memory than me, I think.
It's only about 30 years or something. There you go.
Geez, I'm feeling older now on a Friday afternoon. There you go. But it was lovely.
That's my gift to you, David.
Aye, there you go. I'll remember that one. But lovely. Thank you for having me on. It's very, very enjoyable. Nice to reflect back on in the golfing career. So it's been great spending time chatting.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot, David. Take care.
Thank you.
That's a wrap for this episode of Link by Golf. Big thanks again to David Orr for his time and the insights covering Scottish golf, the importance of club engagement, and his own return to competitive play in the senior stage. And a special shout out to Lomond Golf Tours for supporting the podcast. If you're after a standout golfing trip, Ian and his team have got you covered. If you enjoyed the episode, please share it with a friend and hit subscribe. It really helps us grow. Until next time, thanks for listening.